Now that we've prepped our motherboard, I showed you this I/O shield earlier. We're going to install that now. So what you want to do, set your motherboard aside and bring your case back. Now, if you've ever used a desktop before, this hole here is usually where all your ports are. This is where the I/O shield goes. So we're going to come around here. We're going to open it. You might need scissors for this, so we're just going to cut the top off here. And now your I/O shield is free from its bag. So this is your I/O shield. There's two ways it can go. This way and this way. And then when you orient it in the case, it can either go this way or this way. Usually on motherboards, if you have these large circles, they go at the top. Sometimes you don't have these are called PS2 ports, but nearly all of motherboards will have at least 3 audio ports, and they always, for the motherboards I've seen, go at the bottom. If you don't know, just check on your motherboard. If we look at the back of the board here, all the ports are here. Just check which way it's going to go in the relative position of the case. So we know it's going to go this way. Now these tabs have to touch the motherboard. These are called grounding tabs, and they're basically ground the ports to the case. So we know it's going to go and face this way. So what you want to do is come in from the inside, line it up, and just use a lot of force and push it in. You'll hear it click in. You want to hear at least 4 clicks, usually. But you just want to make sure it's in properly, and you'll see because there's a lip around the outside here. So now that that's installed, if you needed to take it out because you put it the wrong way or for whatever reason, you just push it and it comes straight back out. It's just a friction fit. So yeah, that's the I/O shield in the case. And yeah, now that we've prepped our motherboard, we can basically install it into the case. So what we want to do is get these wires out of the way. So I had to de-rubber band these cables earlier, which I neglected to do, so I'm just going to do it now, and we're just going to dangle them out of the case here. Just basically get all your cables out of the way. And these twist ties here, you want to not tie them back up, you want to untie them and keep them out of your case because they have wire in them, and if that wire touches anything, as I've said before, it will short out. You can use zip ties are fine. I used one on the CPU fan. But now that we've cleared out this space, we have etched here right on the motherboard tray. Don't know if you'll be able to see that, but it has, I can't read upside down, but I can see A means ATX, F is full AT, and M is micro ATX. These are different standards of motherboard size. Our motherboard is a micro ATX board, so we need to put a standoff in all the holes labeled M. So this one up here is labeled A, F, and M, so it's all of them. This one here is A, F, M. This one here is also A, F, and M, and our motherboard, I'm not sure if it will use this hole here, but this one's AFM. This one's AFM. This one actually can't hold a standoff. It's just a nubbin, a little brass nubbin that sticks up and holds your board in place. This one's M and this one's AM. So basically, these two M ones, we want to grab a standoff that looks like this. They're made usually of brass, which is not the best conductor of metal. So that's why they use them. And you basically just want to get them hand tight to start with. And if you have a 5mm socket bit, you can tighten them down with that. I'm struggling to get this one in. Or what I'm going to do is just grab some needle nose pliers and tie them down. Even though I have a 5mm socket, I don't know where it is and I can't be bothered getting it. So I'll be back in a sec. So I've got these needle nose pliers and we just want to tighten these down just past snug. You don't want to strip the threads. So yeah, that's tightened down. Now you just want to dry fit the motherboard. So you pick it up by the heatsink and slide it into the I/O slots located at the back of the I/O shield. It'll give some resistance. You just want to slide it in. And this case is nice because it's got a nubbin here which will hold the board in place. And you want to check that all the slots are lining up and there's no grounding tabs covering any slots. So our motherboard looks good, but this standoff here is basically not able to be used because it's under the board and that could short out. So we want to remove the board now and remove the standoff. If I can get it out. There we are. And we didn't check these other two up here and this one here, so we're just going to put it in again. That's what she said. Or he, whatever. So that one I can see when lining it up, it lines up. This one I can see lines up. And this one up the top here I can see lines up. So the only one we're not using is the one down here. If we had a plastic standoff, we could use it in this hole here, or in this edge hole here. But basically, you want to use all the standoffs you can. So now we want to use our motherboard screws. They're the same as the case and power supply screws we used earlier. And we want to put a screw in every motherboard hole going diagonally. So we're going to start at the bottom corner down here. Now you might need a smaller screwdriver to do this. But yeah, it's the same rule, snug but not too tight. And you want to go diagonally. So we're just screwing them in here. We're just starting them and this one doesn't want to go in. So you want to push the motherboard so it lines up. You don't want to force the board, you just want to do it so it lines up. Like that. And just make sure the cables are out of the way, you don't want to deal with cables. This one's got the nubbin in it, this one we're not using, so we're going to go all the way up to the top corner up here. And basically, these holes are very obvious. They have little metal bits around them to stop you from crushing or cracking the board. Some people say they're also used for grounding. I've heard that as well, but having it stop crushing the motherboard makes a lot more sense to me. And so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws to use here. So now we've done the last one, we just want to snug them up. And they're the same hex head screws we used before for the case and power supply. So just snug them up. You don't want to strip any threads here, you're not making it air or watertight, so they just got to be snug. And that's the motherboard installed. So if you want to one more time, you can just check them off. 1, 2, 3, 4, and actually it's only 4 we're using. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4, and this nubbin one and the one we're not using. There's 6 holes in this board, we're only using 4. And yeah, so that's the motherboard installed. So now we've got to, well, wire it up. But before we do that, I'm going to remove this screw that's over here, which covers the PCI Express brackets. So we want to set our screwdriver to remove this screw. And hopefully these won't all fall out. And this is the same power supply case motherboard screw we've been using. This little bit comes up here, like so, and comes out, I think. Maybe not. Okay, it doesn't look like it comes out, guys, unless it comes straight out. No. Does this side come out first? No. Oh well, so that just slides up. Actually, it does look like it comes out. There we are. It does come out. And I think these tabs just bend off, but we want to grab our video card first and see which ones to do. So we're going to move this case aside, move this manual that we grabbed aside, and grab our video card. So this is the Asus R9 270X Top Edition. Top basically means it's the highest overclocked card you can get. I don't know if that's from Asus or if the R9 270X series in general. But we want to unbox this card. And yeah, so we have a box inside a box with this Asus logo here. We'll open this up and we get more boxes. So I'm guessing this has all our manuals and accessories. Yeah, it's got software, manuals, accessories, crossfire cables, all that sort of stuff. So we're going to close this up here. Put that back in the box just for safekeeping. Got a couple of bits of hopefully anti-static foam. And finally, the video card. Now, Asus always does a good job of having their cards look great, which is always the most important thing. And we're just going to close this box up here. I'll set the video card on the motherboard box for the moment while we're closing this up. And you'll see the card is in an anti-static bag, so you want to touch the case before you pull the card out, or something large and metal in general. This is also taped, so you want to release it from its cage. And you always want to either hold the video card by the plastic bits and the PCI Express bracket. So now that we've got that bag out, this is the card. It's got a little cover on this PCI Express socket here, as well as on the video ports. It's got huge heat pipes here, as well as 2 6-pin power connectors, 2 fans to cool it, and we're going to check if it fits inside. Well, we know it's going to fit inside our case, but which slot it fits into. So we're going to bring our case back. I'll just check these cables aren't being crushed. Yep. Bring this fan cable out of the way. Now, leaving the plastic bit, the plastic protector on the PCI Express bracket, we want to lower the card in to roughly where it's going to go. And we see that it's the top 2 port things that we have to take out. So I think these just bend out of place with some force. That one pushes out, so you can put that one back. These ones, they bend. So you do have to use a little bit of force here. Just wiggle them back and forth until they come loose. And there are the two slots for our video card to go in. So you want to pull the little plastic protector thing off the slot. Make sure the slot is open. So if it clicks in, it's closed. If you push it out, it's open. There's different mechanisms for this. You always want to use the uppermost slot for this, for your first video card. Set it in place and push it in with a little force until it locks. Should lock into place. That's in, just a little bit of force, and now we're going to screw it in with the same, I think it's the same, motherboard screws. If not, we'll just check the other screws. So you might not be getting a very good angle of this, but I'm sorry. Sometimes you have to force components a little bit, like this bracket we're trying to use. We have to force it into place a little bit with our arm, which you probably can't see. So I'm going to turn the case this way. No, you still can't see. Oh well. It's this bit here that we're trying to force. But I'm just going to put the screw in. A little bit. No. These are not the right screws. Are we supposed to use these ones? Let's see. Yeah, so we have to use the screws with the rounded head. So it's the round shape and the rounded head. We have to use these screws. And two of them go in a 2-slot video card. So we want to use the same rule, snug but not too tight, until we're ready to seat it down. So we're going to screw it in until it stops, pretty much, which it isn't, which makes me believe it's the wrong screw. No, it seems to be alright. So we're going to screw it all the way down. And there. That's in. So we want to grab this piece we took, slide that back in, push it down, and put that screw back in, which was standard case screw. This basically holds the cards in place even if the screws fall out. So that screws back into place like that. That's our video card installed.